Okay, so I wanted to show you some more of the buttons in the actual Glowforge app. So here, if you're using your own product and not proof grade material from Glowforge, then it's going to show up as unknown. Or if you've used the piece of material in your Glowforge product that does not, that had the scanning bar on it, then it's not going to show up and you'll have to just select it. So if I was going to use medium black acrylic, and it already has all the settings, so then I choose engrave, I choose draft, SD or HD. I like the way SD looks better. And then my cut, it should pull proof grade cut, and then here, proof grade cut. So if I know the material that I'm using from Glowforge, their settings are right here and they're always perfect. This lets me back out of the screen. If I have large designs that take more than one piece of wood, then I'm going to drag over here what I can cut in one cut, get it cut, take it out of the Glowforge, and then pull my next part of the design over. Anything I'm not wanting to cut, I just pull over. If it's showing up gray, that means it's too close to the edge and it will not cut. So that is not in an area where my printer will cut, so I would have to move it up. And right now you're looking at the crumb tray because I don't have any wood in there. So let's see, what else do I need to show you? This is what you click to go back to pull up whatever design you're looking for. I'm just going to click on, let's see. Let's open that. This one shows up with the settings that I used last time, so it's going to cut what's in highlighted orange and it's going to engrave what's highlighted pink. And it already has, I was going to do this on oak, so it already has my saved settings. So if you're printing the same file over and over again, that's kind of easy because it will be saved in that first menu. And then I can select it all and move it, or I can move piece by piece if it lets you separate it. Here is your hand. So if you want to move your view, use that, and then you have to click back to the pointer to then be able to move your design. This is if you accidentally resize something, instead of move it, you can just hit the back and it fixes it for you. This is if I want to import artwork. I don't want to do that. I've already got my stuff here. This is where you can design in the Glowforge app. I don't really do that because I like designing in my Silhouette software, and I can insert text. Here, if I need to refresh the bed image, like I've changed something in there, or I've moved my product and I want it to refresh, I don't want that text, so I'm going to move it off so that it's not in there. This one is for set focus. I'll show you that in a second. I don't ever deal with this. This, I do have a pro pass-through, and I am using the beta, so it's kind of like new technology that makes it easier to use, but I'm not using that for that design, so it's turned off. I do not have an air filter. I vent outdoors, so I have that turned off. And I like to see my units up here in inches. So that's those 3 dots. Now if I move over here, I'm logged into this. If I click this, it shows who I am. I'm a trial beta user because they're testing out their new software that's really awesome. And then if I have a family or friend that I want to refer, I would send them this link. so that they could get a discount. I believe it's maybe $100 for the basic, $250 for the plus, and I think $500 for the pro. And you get that off your order, or whoever you're referring gets that off their order, and then you get that in cash benefits from Glowforge for referring someone. Okay, so I have this. I've talked about all the little buttons in here. I'm gonna walk over to the machine. I have my wood sitting right here. I have little bits and pieces of wood here from my last design, and if I don't move these or get them off, my next piece of wood's not gonna sit flat, and you're gonna have spots that doesn't cut through or doesn't go properly, because it all needs to be very, very flat. So anything that you see is down in the honeycomb and is not going to affect it. If you have a pass through, you have this. You can put one of these back over it to keep smoke out, but mine doesn't really bother me, so I don't worry about it. And then one of those is for the very back. You can kind of see light shining through, and that's the slot where you can pass through large sheets of wood to cut bigger projects. Put my material in. I've got little pieces of wood here stopping me from doing what I need to do. The sides are really important. It needs to fit down in the sides. It can be shorter, but it can't be longer, because you don't want to inhibit your wheels, and this is what's going to be moving around, and you don't want it to hit anything. So I can push it up as far as I want to. If I have some things that I've already printed here and I'm wanting to be able to reach this, then I can push it up, or I can push it back if I want to be able to reach some of that wood. But this is a fresh new piece, so I'm just going to put it right here. You'll be able to see this on your screen. I'm going to close this. I just opened that to show you the pass-through. I'm going to close the door. Now, the camera is already scanning my product. So when I walk back over to my machine, it shows that it's scanning, and there's my image of my product. So you can see, I could scoot the wood down if I wanted to, but you'll see that part is not printable anyway. So if I wanted to print really, really close to the edge, I would have to scoot my wood up a little bit. So I would scoot my design where I'm not just cutting out in the middle of my product. We like to save product, and this little wing is not there. Now it's orange, so it's going to cut. If it's too close to the sides, it won't cut. I need to, let me make this bigger and use my little hand to make sure I'm not overlapping. All right, this little piece is not gonna cut because it's off. So I'm just gonna pull it. It won't fit there, we'll fit it there. And then I'm gonna pull this little guy. All right, it's all showing up in color. That means it will cut that because that's my settings over here. Actually, that's gonna engrave, and then this is going to cut. So you have engrave, and that's what it would look like if I engraved that part instead of cut. Cut, it shows the lines it's gonna cut. If I wanted to score that, it's just gonna draw, burn a line, or if I want to ignore that. So I'm gonna switch it back to cut. Now that's gonna be one big tooth. That is gonna be like 7 inches across. So that's why I like to get my sizing right in my software before I pull it over. Let's see, what else do I want to show you? If you want to go shop for products at the Glowforge website, they have free designs in community. But if you want to get back to your design library, these are all designs that you've pulled up. I can click view all. This is my little logo for my business. So since I went back and clicked that, my tooth is gone and I have a new design. So this is my business logo. It's gonna cut a round disc. It's gonna be pretty small, so maybe I'm making a magnet for my refrigerator. I already have the settings saved from the last time I did this. I'm engraving my name, and then I'm engraving my little face. I'm scoring this little line, part of his ear in my design, and then I'm cutting. So as you click on each of these, it will highlight what you've chosen. And mine was just saved because it saves it from the last time. So engrave. When you're doing your settings, if you figure out that setting's not right, you can change the speed, you can change the power, you can change the lines per inch. 270 is a good one. If you want it to do it twice, usually that's not the case, but I do have one type of wood that I use that I do 2 passes just to make sure it cuts through. I probably need to mess with those settings a little bit so that I probably lower the speed and up the power. On some product, it's gonna burn up if the power's too high, and we don't wanna set our machine on fire. So if I change these settings in any way, which I did, I changed the lines per inch. I would click the plus sign and then give it a name. So if this is my oak engrave, oak better engrave or whatever, because I already have oak. See, oak engrave, and I'm gonna save it. So now I have that setting and I can just select it. So that anytime I'm using this wood, I've already tested it out, I know what settings I like, and I just have to click it from my list, and I don't have to worry about actually going in and messing with the speed or messing with the power. So once you get those settings on the materials that you like to use, it is a bit easier. Or if I decide this was a horrible setting and it just messed up what I wanted to do, I can delete the setting. And then it's not gonna be saved down here, so I'm not gonna mess anything up by accident. Manual, that's what you would click when you're choosing your settings for the first time. There's a document in the Glowforge user group that kind of gives you a good idea of what settings to use for what product. They have woods and different acrylics from like Lowe's or Home Depot or JPP Plastics saved in there so that you're not just starting from scratch. And then of course, if I wanted to save that, which I don't, I would just save as, give it a name and save, and then it's gonna show up in my list. Whenever I have this moved around to where I want it to go, I'm gonna hit ready. Put this one back here. Again, you can resize in here. Oh, I want a really big magnet for my refrigerator. This is gonna be 4 inches by 4 inches, so that's pretty good size. I can do that. If I don't like it, just hit the back button and it resizes it. Or if you resize it by accident instead of moving it, you can do that. So again, once I hit the ready button, if I realize that something's wrong over here and my design's overlapping, I have multiple pieces or something, I have to hit cancel print, move it and fix it before I hit ready again. Because once I hit ready, whatever was on your screen is what's gonna happen because it's sending the directions to your machine. It's gonna tell me over here how long this is gonna take. It's got lots of information to send. Oh, I didn't autofocus that, but I'm not really gonna cut this one, so it's fine. So before I hit ready, I would have selected set focus for it to set focus to the height of my material. This one would take 5 minutes because I have some engraving I'm wanting it to do. And this is my warning, I'm not using proof grade material. If I use the wrong material, it could result in fire, toxic fumes, and damage to your Glowforge. I have watched this wood and I have used these settings before, so I'm not going to have to stand right over my Glowforge, but if you are using a new product and you're not sure of the settings, you need to be right with your machine watching it to make sure nothing goes wrong. So as long as this is showing up, I can walk over to my Glowforge. My light is flashing. If I press this, it's going to start. I'm not going to press this because I don't really want to do it. I have a bad habit of putting things here as I'm working. If it winds up here when you open the door and you shut it, it can mess things up. So that's probably not a good habit that you want to get into. But if you do, or little scraps that you want out of the way, just push it to the side so that when you're opening your door, you're not messing up the door. And since I opened it, it canceled my print. So I would have to start all over. Everything here is right, so I would just set focus. I needed to move my material because it wasn't where I wanted it for my design. As soon as it's done focusing, it will let me hit ready, and then I'll walk over to the machine and hit the glowing button if I'm ready to print. So I hope that helped you out, and just know that you don't get access to any of this until you hook up your settings. If you forget where your refer a friend code is, it's right there. You can add users. So like if my daughter liked to use it too and I didn't want to mess with her designs, I would just add her email address. I think they give you 2 or 3 so that when I'm pulling up my designs, I don't have hers mixed in with mine, and it would just be easier that way. Let's see. If you get a pro, there is a link where you can apply to use the trial of the beta for the pass-through. So just make sure that you apply for that. It really does make the using the pass-through a lot easier. All right, so if you have any questions, let me know.